I am Jim Collison, and this is the Clifton Strengths Podcast, Season 2, recorded on February 14th. In this Clifton Strengths podcast series, we looked at the Clifton Strengths for Leaders report, one theme at a time, and today's theme is command. If you're listening live, we'd love to have you join us in our chat. If you don't see it, there's a link to it right above me. Or if you have questions after the fact, maybe you're listening to this as a podcast or on YouTube, send us an email, coaching@gallup.com. Dr. Jaclynn Robinson is our host today. She works as a senior learning and development consultant and joined me for season 1 of the Clifton Strengths podcast, where we looked at the book Well-Being at Work for each theme. And Jaclynn, always great to be with you and welcome back.
Hello, sir. My partner in crime.
It's always great. I always look forward to spending this time with you. We've got another one today. Let's talk about command. Give us a little intro to the topic today.
Yeah. So if you have command, you have presence. You can take control of a situation and make decisions.
I love this
that
theme.
Emotional discord.
Yes. I love this theme, and I love being with people who have this theme because I am best in the second in command kind of guy. That's what I've learned as I've got older. And there's something comforting. We'll talk about this as we talk about needs of followers here in a little bit. But there's something for me super comforting about being around someone who's in charge. But to me, that makes me feel great. So I'm kind of attracted to that theme. What's the power? We're spending some time thinking about the Clifton Strengths for Leaders report. And so what is the power of theme in a leadership role?
Yes. Well, they've got a natural leadership presence. And in the interest of clarity and order, they can step into a situation when an issue needs to be solved or a crisis occurs, and they can resolve it. Again, they can cut through that emotional discord. So this leader's ability to take ownership and calm a crowd, so to speak, really creates stability and trust for people.
I think this is one of those that gets maligned a little bit. Maybe we hear terms like bossy. Remember, these themes are neutral, right? But we heard terms like bossy, aggressive, over aggressive. I actually love the way you're talking about it, where this leader steps in when issues arise. Or I always used to say would take leadership in the absence of leadership, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's situations where that's needed. We actually need, we can't just look at each other. All right, well, who wants to do this? Well, how about you do it?
Yes. Probably any, mini, mighty, mo, adult style.
Do you want to do it? Who's going to do it now? Right. Kind of thing. And so really, really valuable to have someone step in, step up, right? And lead in these situations. Let's talk about that. So how could this theme lead others? Let's dig into that a little bit more.
They invite in different perspectives, and that can bring further clarity and accountability to everybody that's involved. And getting clear on the issues brings credibility when the initiative or measure is rolled out as well, because you've got all that buy-in. So I love this theme because they can respect the differences that people might bring to the table. Or if someone says, I agree to disagree, they don't take offense to it. It's like, tell me more. What about that is bringing disagreement? And so they are comfortable in the differences of opinion. They're comfortable with what might feel like conflict to other people.
I think another unintended bias in this is we think they just do it. And we know from the research, we know from the work in this, that, like you said, they often ask. They get intel, they figure some things out and move people forward, right? They or get things rolling or get things moving, adding accountability to it. I think those are all positive. Again, I think this is one of those that oftentimes we make assumptions about. And listen, I'll encourage our coaches and those studying command to really dig in a little bit more to find those positive things that are in it, because I think those, again, we need to have those in situations. Those things need to be working. Do you have any other thoughts on that as you think about gaining awareness or getting more information before a decision is made?
I love the term you used, intel, gathering intel. I always think about this person with command as the leader that's in the trenches, and they're moving alongside with the troops. They're not pointing fingers saying, go out there and take care of business. They're right there alongside them. So that gathering
Mhm.
intel, it's let's talk about this together. Let's make sure we're all in it. You'd mentioned accountability. I've got everyone's buy-in. We're in this. Let's roll.
Yeah.
So
It
yeah,
is that it is the
very
epitome of the
visual.
me versus we in
Mm-hmm.
this conversation, and I think oftentimes when we're thinking about the theme, we only see the me in it, and those things exist, but the transition, the more mature we is what I hear you saying as we're bringing people along,
Yes.
gathering or gaining ideas, concepts, intel, like, "Hey, what's going on here? What do we need to know?" And maybe I'd avoid the word consensus in some cases because I
Mm-hmm.
think command has to make decisions sometimes, and we're going to move forward. But oftentimes pulling people with them, not out there by themselves. Remember, if you're
Yes.
leading and no one's following, you're not really leading. Let's just really be really clear about that one. So
Uh,
also in the report, we talk about there's the first section of some helps, some things that you can think about. We also talk about some what can hinder you. So how could this theme hinder your leadership of others?
well, depending on the talents and strengths of the other folks or your direct reports, this leader's presence and candor can be too overwhelming or intimidating for some people. So they might prefer a more relationship driven approach, or they might prefer time to consider the emotions that are present in the room before, working on those next steps. So as a result, this person might have some individuals that shut down and remain quiet because of the way they're showing up in the room.
I've noticed when I've been in this situation and I maybe exercised a little bit of command, and maybe it's the small C,
Mhm.
17 for me. So I'm not the greatest at this, but the small C of command. And I watch people's faces as we're doing things, and the body language is so important because you've got them or you've lost them at that
Mhm.
point, right? And I think for some, the one of those hindrances in this can be not reading the room, right? Not having some awareness around this to be like, "Hey, do I have everybody here? Like, are we gonna move forward or at least have them partially? We may not have a full buy-in, right? Get some partial buy-in on this. A lot of the hindrances, a lot of things we talk about on the positive side that maybe go astray, not paying attention, so to speak, or reading the room. Any other
Yeah.
thoughts, Jaclyn, on that, or anything come to light as you think about that?
I love what you mentioned. And I think you also bring up just a point of interest for a lot of folks right now that have remote workers. And if they're camera off, how do you know what intel you're receiving in terms of their emotions or how they're feeling? You don't have those cues you can pick up on. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's been interesting, which we love a cameras on environment. And I think it highlights the power of it because you can see those facial expressions, you can read the virtual room,
Yeah.
and that might help somebody with command as well go, "Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
This looks like it's not going the right direction."
Yeah. It can't be just a single focus. It can't be just a single direction. I
Mhm.
think those who are really good at this understand all now again,
Yeah.
where command sits and what is around it influences the way this happens. But I think it's a key component. They're really good at reading, saying I'm getting consensus in this area, and it may not even be their own ideas that they're moving
Mhm.
forward on. We just need to move forward as a group.
Yes.
Here's how we're going to do this, right? As we think of that in context of leadership. We're also spending some time. Well, hold on. Before I get to that point, when we think about I almost forgot the four needs of followers section. Hope, stability, compassion, and trust are those four.
Yes.
Where's command? And again, it goes across all four. But as you think
Yeah.
about that, where's command fit into those needs? Do you think?
I when I was thinking about this earlier, I put this under stability and trust.
Yeah.
Because they can take ownership and they can move a crowd forward and calm them down. So they're creating, a stable environment and this trustworthy environment of, oh, okay, they've got this.
Mhm.
Let's go
Mhm.
along. They're
Yeah.
very comfortable with where we're heading.
Yeah.
And they're quieting those emotions in a sense so people aren't continuously just frazzled. It's like, whew, okay, We're cool, calm, and collect. Let's go.
Mm,
This
mm.
person's taking us.
Yeah. Yeah. Love that. Love that. It makes me feel stable. That's
Mhm.
the stability in there. And I think the hope comes with stability when you
Mhm.
know, like, okay, this is predictable, or I can, in my
Yes.
early days of leading, even though uh, I wanted higher command in those days, I didn't provide a stable environment for those that were I was kind of all over the place, and my leading was not consistent. And in 360s, I got feedback about that. Like, well, actually had a manager tell me I need a little more consistency out of you if you're going to do this. So I know that
Mm.
stability, this command can provide that stability, among other
Yes.
things. Yeah. We're spending some time thinking about this idea in the context of how we can combine these together with the other role-based reports. Clifton
Yeah.
Strengths for Leader, Clifton Strengths for Sales reports, put them together. We have these report dynamics. What do you think as we look at those two reports together? What are some things that can lead us to success?
Yeah, thinking about this person as a sales leader, they might find comfort in hard selling. They might have no
Mhm.
issue closing on a deal with pricing and next steps. It's again, let's move forward. And they might lend that sense of confidence in this area of sales to their team members who struggle to close a deal.
Mhm.
So, for example, they might help them see that there's comfort and kindness and clarity. It helps both sides move forward or take a step once everyone knows what's on the table and the pricing involved, as opposed to kind of beating around the bush.
Mm.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, that was what came to mind for me as I think about this person as a sales leader.
As you were saying that, words like consensus, I think often words we may not think of about in the context of command, but
Hmm.
it can drive to consensus. Compromise, maybe another one in there
Yes,
to
great
bring
word.
parties together. Again, some of that sounds a little bit, maybe some harmony in there, but I think, we're thinking about taking the reins to move people forward, and some of those things may
Yes.
require consensus, may require a compromise in that,
Hmm.
and then listening and hearing. Okay, what are people thinking, with the intention of moving the group forward, right?
Yes.
Of taking the reins of moving people forward. I love that hard sell. It
Yes.
makes me super uncomfortable, but I
But yeah.
love that. I love that phrase in there. It'd be
Yeah.
great to get some command number one individuals and see how they respond to that, especially sales leaders. Okay,
Yeah.
let's think about Clifton Strengths for Leaders and the Clifton Strengths for Managers report together, a little report dynamics. What do we see there?
Yeah, this leader can use their voice to offer feedback, coaching, and recognition that helps shape the development of their team members. So, in one on ones, they can help their team members sort through any confusion they have on next steps, or work in their development plan so that they feel confident in the direction they're moving in their role and at the
Mm,
company.
mm. Love this idea of a team that's maybe's got some questions on where you're going, and a leader, manager, high command.
Hmm.
Let me be really clear about where we're going here, right?
Yes.
Because there are those moments, right? There are those moments where we need that things get a little uncertain in an organization or whatever.
Yes.
Maybe the management above them has created uncertainty, and the manager in the below says, "Let me be real clear about where we're going here."
Yes.
Right? And that again provides that stability, not in a mean way, and not in a dysfunctional way where they're guiding them away from the values and purpose and meaning of an organization, but in a way to provide that leadership. Like, in the absence, again, it's that definition, right? In the absence of leadership, to say, let
Hmm.
me be real clear. You might be confused. Let me clarify that for you as
Hmm.
we're moving forward. I don't know. As we wrap this up, any other thoughts on that? Any final thoughts on command?
Yeah, I think you nail it. It's that sense of clarity that they can offer to an audience that's in front of them.
Yeah.
Clear, they can be direct. And that doesn't mean I'm not using direct in the terms of terse this time, but they can just create that sense of clarity and directness so people know where they're moving and why, if they've really, maturated
Mm.
command is a word
Mhm.
I would use.
Mhm.
So they're all working together. They're all working towards that common goal or
Did
that individual goal. If it's just if we're talking about individual development plans,
Yeah.
great theme.
Yeah, yeah. I did
Yeah.
something one time, and I had a manager pulled me aside and said, "Hey, did you do that?" I went, "Yeah." He goes, "Yeah, don't do that." Like, don't stop doing that. And that takes, I mean, I think that in the leadership role, that takes some of that courage, right?
Mhm.
To just say to someone, "Yeah, don't do that." Like, it's not in your best interest. Let's just be really clear. It's not in your
Yes.
best interest in the organization. That's hard to do. It's hard to do for some people, right? So some great reminders. Well,
Yeah.
I think with that, we'll remind everyone to take full advantage of all the resources we do have available now in Gallup Access, especially around this command theme. If you're wanting all of our resources for it, head
Mhm.
out to gallup.com/CliftonStrengths, sign in to Gallup Access. Upper left-hand corner, hit the menu, choose the resources tab, and then, or the resources on the menu, and then in the search box, type in command. Everything we have will come back on it, and a great learning opportunity for you. Learners, you should be racing out there, or input, you should be racing out there right now to get that downloaded. Stay up to date with all the webcasts by following us at gallup.eventbrite.com. Create an account, follow us. You'll get notifications whenever we publish a new episode for the live stuff like we're doing right now. And then join us on any social platform by searching Clifton Strengths. And thanks for listening today. If you enjoyed it, share it. Certainly hit the like button, subscribe to it as a podcast, follow whatever the platform is, do it. We appreciate it.
Mhm.
And there's a little bit of my command. Just do it. So get
Do
out there
it.
and get it done. Do it. Thanks for listening. And if you're listening live, stay around for a little bit of a mid show. With that, we'll say goodbye.